Nathan, why are we here?
To smoke cigars, to relax. And I think it's a really good idea that we talk about the future of luxury cars. My period of time, when I was growing up, my old man, my uncles, they had Cadillacs. Everybody had Cadillacs. It was a sign of success. Maybe a Lincoln peppered in here and there. My mom had a T-Bird.
That's the wrong direction. I never was a Lincoln guy.
Those cars were floaty, old American cars. American luxury started losing its shirt to Europeans and Japanese. When Lexus came out, and Acura was pretty early, in '86, right? At that point in time, what was on the road for American vehicles?
You had that horrific switch to the downsized Cadillacs, the Eldorado and the Seville,
and the
Cimarron.
Cimarron.
Well, the Cimarron was coming to an end at that point. The Cimarron was done in '87.
It was done when it came out. It was horrible. That was a Chevy Cavalier.
It was a Chevy Cavalier, but it never had the beauty of the star rising like a Fiero did. A Fiero came out, it was a great looking car, but not great because it had the wrong engine and it had some of the bits that were wrong. But by the time they hit the end of the run, which was the year after the Cimarron got a bullet in its head, it was a damn good car. The Cimarron wasn't. It never was a good car.
It never was.
It shouldn't have been.
I believe they moved it up to a
car.
V6 and tried to make it a little hotter.
2.8 V6.
But it was terrible. My mom had the 4-cylinder.
But that's ancient.
It is, but you understand what my point is with this. Those cars represented American know-how. American know-how was falling off a cliff at that point in time. European and Japanese luxury brands were coming in hard.
But that really wasn't a function of not having the know-how. That was a function of bad management. Because you go back 20 years from that Cimarron, there really was nothing finer than a '67 Eldorado. The way the thing was screwed together. Granted, technology. Wow, that was a loud horn, wasn't it?
That was my wife.
Because she knows we're smoking cigars.
She knows we're smoking cigars.
Oh, speaking of cigars, what are we smoking?
Oh, you're going to love this. So, I'm going to try to get this right, guys. This is it's a Dominican cigar. It's a Maduro, so it's heavy. This is a La Flor Dominica, and it's a double Ligero.
So it's an LFD.
Yes.
And it is a double Ligero, but they call this one the Digger because I believe that is a 7.5 or 8-inch stick with a 70 gauge ring. That's a massive. Now you got the Maduro. I am not man enough to do the Maduro.
And it is absolutely delicious. This is, after spending a day wandering the desert, I practically
we're an air conditioning smoking stick, which is a wonderful thing.
This place is absolutely phenomenal.
So we actually have to chat about this place because I came in yesterday. He was, you had an hour and a half wait for security at Denver Airport. I have intelligence and I have clear and TSA pre, so I went through in 3 minutes.
I will fix that.
He will not because he's too cheap. I went through security quick, got here early. They gave me a Sienna minivan. And I went and scouted the location. So what you guys don't see behind the scenes is he and I, when we go travel, or like Roman does the same thing, they go scout. And we find out where we want to shoot the cars. It's always something different than where everybody else that comes on these trips. Because we want the films to look different.
Otherwise, you guys are clicking on the same exact image on the same person standing in front of a car. We don't want to do that. We want to be different.
Like when you guys see like their films or my films, you see our B-roll. We shoot our B-roll. We do not use the manufacturer B-roll. So I figured let's go find a spot so we don't have to waste any time going and trying to scout while we're shooting. So I driving back and I'm coming through Carefree or Cave Creek and I'm like, wait a minute, that is a cigar lounge. So I roll in and there's 4 guys sitting in here. Larry, super nice guy. He's the owner, or one of the owners. Doesn't like cars, by the way. So I was a little concerned, but then he introduces me to a couple of other guys. I think his guy's name is John, and he's got a Corvette, a Bentley, another Bentley. He wants to get a Ferrari. There's another guy, Derek. He's into cars. So we chatted about cars. We chatted about Arizona because I'm a proud Arizona State Sun Devil, and that's how I found the place. So I figured, well, if we get done early, which didn't happen today,
No.
but we still came here and made it a priority.
We did indeed, and thank God for that. We needed time to relax. Nothing replaces a fine cigar. in a nice establishment. I'm not just saying that
should
because...
we share with them what we did throughout the virus?
Sure, why
Because
not?
we found a unique way to get through the virus together.
Absolutely, go for
So
it.
how long have we known each other?
I'd say about 8 years.
More than that. I
Well,
met you
started
early
10
on. 12
yeah.
years ago I started.
Okay, so I'd say 11 years.
Okay, so the
Shortly
majority
after
of
we
it.
started.
Started after, because you guys started around the same time
Yeah.
I did. So we quickly sussed out that we were cigar aficionados, and we started smoking on the trips together.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happened a year and a half ago?
COVID kicked in, and the restrictions came down really hard on both ends. So what we started doing was every 3 weeks, roughly,
Every 3 weeks.
on Sunday, we would fire up the camera on our phones, sit them in our little smoking lounge in his hangar and in my garage, which is my lounge, and we'd just sit there and shoot the breeze.
For 2 hours, we'd go through 2 sticks each. And the funny part about it is, if you guys know The Simpsons, you know the grandpa character, how no one wants to talk to grandpa and everybody's just trying to like foist grandpa on somebody else. His wife and kids are kind of like that with him. So they were all too excited to just get rid of him for 2 hours, and they didn't have to deal with it.
2 hours I'd just sit in my cave and do my thing with George, and I didn't have to worry about dealing with my wife and my kids, but more importantly, they didn't have to worry about dealing with me.
I still love you.
Thank you.
But
I
let's get
appreciate
back
it.
to cars. So technology in '67, American technology, was awesome. Granted, it wasn't efficient, and they had to keelhaul the system starting in the early '70s.
Yeah.
And the management team went and all this is not just a Ford or a GM or a Chrysler. They all had to keelhaul the systems, and they had to change overnight. And when you do things fast, you usually do them badly. So who was lined up for efficient cars? Honda, Toyota, all these guys. And so by the time we roll around to 86 or 1990 with Lexus and Infiniti, these guys were killing it. Plus, and this is what people don't really talk about, the exchange rate worked in their favor.
It did, but they, being all the Japanese players, and I'm only referring to the Japanese right now, they were extremely smart because they immediately benchmarked Mercedes-Benz and to a lesser extent
I don't think
BMW.
Acura did that. I disagree with you on Acura,
Acura
but
did not.
Lexus did.
Lexus did, and early on too.
Lexus, not only did they benchmark, they exceeded the benchmark. Because if you remember,
Yes.
the LS 400 when it first came out was $35,000 US in 1989, which was a 1990 model year car. The S-Class was $55,000, and their car was priced below the E-Class at the time.
Yep.
And it trounced everything they made. Plus, you didn't get the runaround from the dealer. Now, I think I told you about my Aunt Christine. She was amazing. She lives in the Boogie Down Bronx. Bought Cadillacs all her life. There was no way I could talk her into a Lexus. She stuck with the crappy Cadillacs, and when she finally changed, she went to a Honda.
No kidding.
Yeah, one day she turns up, and there she's driving a Honda. She goes, I'm sick of it. The car's leaving, because she had the HT 4100 leave on the side of the road. Terrible.
Well, there you go. I mean,
Yeah.
so my uncle, who owned wrecking yards and everything else, is where I worked.
Tell them a little bit about that.
Sure,
wrecking
sure.
yard.
Out in Los Angeles, there was a wrecking yard called Adlen Brothers Autos, Adlen Brothers Auto Wrecking, really, AADLEN. If you guys are from LA and you ever drove past Sun Valley, there was a really bizarre looking wrecking yard with movie props hanging off the side, monster trucks, a giant ghetto blaster, all this stuff. That was my family's wrecking yard business. That's where I grew up. And then we have another one downtown, but it's a smaller one called Samson. That one's still around. Adlen Brothers is now gone, but it was around for a long time. And my uncle was sort of the patriarch, of the whole family. My dad was in it, my other uncle's in it, so the Adlen brothers and their sons, including me, worked at this wrecking yard. And that's how we got into the automotive business. And I got to tell you, it was a great way to get into the automotive business because it was how we saw these cars coming in. Once the 80s started kicking in and these other cars started rolling in with different types of damage, or in some cases not damage, but they were impounded, we could see the technology and how it worked with safety, especially because these insurance guys would come in and check out these
Your
cars.
father had a very unique way of making you learn about safety.
Oh, more ways than one.
With the cleaner and...
That wasn't my dad, that was my uncle. Yeah, so one of the things I had to do, one of my first jobs as a young teen, was to run around and if there was glass with blood in it or hair or if there was teeth on the dashboard, I had to clean it off with crappy Windex and sweep it up and all that, so the people coming through to get parts didn't see that stuff. So it was brutal, but after...
So that's your version of walking uphill both ways in the snow, which you tell your son now.
Yeah, actually I don't, because I don't want to give him nightmares yet, but when he gets a little bit older, I think I will.
Okay, so let's go back to Lexus.
Please.
Where do you think Lexus is going at this point?
So we just covered the NX.
Let's not discuss the driving.
Nope.
Because I don't know when
or
I'm putting
pricing,
this out.
Or
pricing or driving, we can't talk about.
EPA numbers. We can't.
Was it that too?
Yeah, we can't do that either.
So you're going to see 2 episodes from him on the car, and you're going to see 2 episodes from me on the car. You may be seeing the exact same car in both of our videos. I don't know, but you'll find out.
They have 4 different models, really, in terms of powertrain. So they have their entry level, which is basically a Toyota RAV4 simple powertrains, the 2.5 liter. Then they have a 2.4 turbo, which
that's new.
That's new, and we like it. It's great. It takes a little time to spool up, but
no driving impressions.
No driving impressions. Just and then you go from there to the 350h. That's their hybrid.
That was interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then you go up to the 450h, and that's their PHEV plug-in hybrid. Now that powertrain is very similar to the powertrain that's inside of the Toyota RAV4 Prime,
which we both liked a lot,
with one exception. The price of the RAV4 Prime is steep.
Okay, you know I'm a cheapskate.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a Porsche guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with writing a check for $200,000 for a GT3. I mean, ideally because you don't lose money on that. But $200,000 is not a problem for that.
Right.
$45,000, and in today's day and age, I got a guy at my Cigar Lounge in LA. He paid $5,000 over sticker, and he was thankful.
I can't understand that. So that's the car that we currently have the most familiarity with because we just drove it today. That car represents the future of Lexus in the short term because they have an all-new infotainment system. That infotainment system is going to go throughout all of the Lexus brands.
And the Tundra as well.
And the Tundra, so a lot of Toyota brands are going to get it. It's the big 14-inch screen. All this stuff.
Which is optional.
Yes, because there's a 9.8-inch screen that you can get.
But notice they haven't showed us one, even in the Tundra. They didn't show us one with the new UX and the small screen. But I believe it's the same UX, it's just a smaller screen.
I think you're right, but of course, until we actually get our hands on it, we're just not 100% sure.
You know who would know? The deposed leader of the Buhanka Freedom Party.
Yeah, that'd be Andrei Smirnov, who is also the head of TFL Truck, one of the places I work. And you're right, he would probably know that. So going back to what they're doing, and they spread the wealth out with, whatever goes from Lexus eventually kind of trickles into Toyota, and sometimes it goes the opposite direction as well.
But this was an interesting strategy because they're launching this entirely new UX simultaneously on both sides. It's the NX that is the launch for the Lexus, and the Tundra, which I think is really strange, for the Toyota side.
Yep.
Remember back in the day talking about domestic luxury, all the luxury stuff, all the technology stuff was always launched in Oldsmobiles first.
Yep. And I didn't understand that. And Oldsmobile at one point was the state of the art for General Motors.
It was.
They had the newest engines, most powerful engines usually, especially when they were going to 4 cylinders and they were doing quad 4s.
Quad 4 was first in that terrible, what was it, the 4-cylinder?
Aurora?
No, the Aurora was a good car. No, it was the Calais.
Oh, the old Calais, yeah.
God, that was a god-awful looking car.
It didn't look good. It had that weird snout.
And the terrible C-pillar.
I did not like that car.
Yeah.
I actually think I rented that car once. So you can actually look at Toyota and measure what they did with Oldsmobile to a certain degree in terms of, and Pontiac too. So
I love me some Pontiacs.
There are some Pontiacs out there that I really miss. Going into the future with both these brands, well, Toyota and Lexus, but really Lexus, they are at a weird point in time. Toyota does not want to build electric vehicles. They're very resistant.
I mean, can you argue with them?
No, because they're building some of the most efficient powertrains out there. And we can't talk about the efficiency of the vehicles we just drove, right? But they are for a lesser, you know, they're hybrids, plug-in hybrids, so obviously they're going to be efficient, right? So when they do, and it's going to be soon, introduce a Lexus that is all electric, does that mean that's the direction Lexus has to go from here on? That's a really big question. I have no idea, because that is a big sacrifice for them. They're going to have to stop doing these remarkably efficient hybrid powertrains, which have proven to work and proven to be reliable.
If I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, this is the way I see it going for Toyota.
All right.
I see Toyota they're going to stick more with the hybrids, gain more efficiency out of the hybrids, probably put bigger batteries. So instead of, what's the Prime? Is it like 35 or 37 miles of range in the Prime?
Yeah, it is. And the NX we just drove had... No, I can say...
Can we talk about that?
About the battery?
About the battery. Just in case, let's not.
Okay.
Because I want to put this out before.
Just in case.
So 37, let's say 37 in the Prime. I'll let you extrapolate to the NX. But I see a day in the very short term, like 2 years, maybe 3, where you get to up to 50, maybe 100 miles on the Toyota side. And then you still have the cars that are cheaper gas. Lexus, I see them going full electric at 100 grand and above. And then everything 50 is going to be hybrid and follow the Toyota strategy. That's my stab in the dark.
Right now, Mercedes-Benz is debuting a ton of electric vehicles, and they're hitting soon. They're aiming for...
EQS is like 2 months, at least in this country.
And they're aiming for Tesla, obviously, which in my mind, and I can say this with have experience driving nearly everything they've built, I have no doubt that Mercedes-Benz will be able to trounce Lexus with quality and usability.
So I have driven an EQS already. I drove a pre-production prototype. And it's good. But what I can tell you is a Tesla, it is not. It doesn't have quite that electric car feel. It still feels like a Mercedes, which I think is a good differentiator. Yeah. I think the design, it leaves a lot to be desired.
I'm not a big fan of the exterior design.
But you know something interesting? I'm going to connect the Lexus for you we drove today and that EQS directly.
Okay.
The EQS, the viewers know this, I bitched and moaned about the dashboard of the new S-Class and the new EQS. It's got this beautiful screen.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But no hard buttons. And the thing I asked for in the EQS specifically was, hey, keep that beautiful 56-inch screen, but can I have a knob, a dial for the HVAC and a volume knob?
Yes.
What did we have in this car today?
That's exactly what we had.
Like, they watched my EQS episode. And that, I think there's going to be like a shakeout where this is not just Lexus. This is Lexus, this is Mercedes, I think this is Cadillac, Lincoln. I think there's going to be a shakeout where everybody's going down this screen route with all these haptic feedback, and they're going to realize, well, why are people smashing their cars? Because they're not paying attention. Where your finger goes is where your eyes go. And I think Lexus is very smart to keep the hard controllers in there and ultimately going to keep people from cracking up their cars. And I think Mercedes and those guys who learn the hard way put the hard buttons back in there, because voice, it's a thing. It's just not a thing today. The processors that they put in the cars are not powerful enough to do everything. Like today, I actually did the, hey Lexus, turn on the windshield wipers. Granted, it was 100 degrees out and sun shining, but I still put them on. Neat touch, it worked off the grid, but there's still things it didn't work with yet.
They had a sample inside the house that they were using as a
that
base.
Place was what a
place!
God, that place.
Yeah, that had a Sinatra feel almost in terms of.
Oh man, I was waiting for Frank and Dino.
Frankie to come on out.
Absolutely.
And snapping their fingers.
Sammy
and,
singing.
Yeah, offering us a smoke. Yeah.
With a dual gear.
Oh, that was The thing is, with that place,
make a Lexus dual gear. How about that?
Won't happen, but it would be. That would smart. Oh, that would be awesome. So they had a display set up, and it was where you could sit in it with one of their reps, very nice lady.
The car was lovely.
Yeah. Carly too.
Greek and Jewish.
This was
Greek, Jewish.
So anyway, she sat next to me. I sat in this thing, and big screen was right there. And yes, indeed, 2 dials for the HVAC system, thank God, and 1 dial for the volume knob. And it's right there, so simple to use. Then I decided to use my voice, and I noticed that there was a delay. And I asked the car, I said, "Oh, hey Lexus, take me to Disneyland." We're in Phoenix. I know it's not Phoenix. We're in Phoenix, and it took a minute. It figured it out,
Yeah.
but you could kind of see the gears turning, right? Yeah. And it's not as fast as a phone. It still doesn't replace a phone.
I would argue its voice recognition is better than an iPhone. It's not as fast, but its voice recognition is indeed faster.
It might be.
Or excuse me, more accurate.
It may be more accurate, and I know they've worked on it really hard.
A little bit behind the scenes, it's not Toyota or Lexus that did that system.
No, it's not.
It's an outside tech firm. They're not even in the car business.
No, they're not. But what they're going to do is, first of all, everything's over the air. Everything goes to the cloud, which is great for most things, unless, of course, you can't reach the cloud, which could be a problem.
Well, they do an interesting thing. In the Tundra, there is no model that has a navigation system in it. The Lexus does have maps. The Tundra doesn't.
Yeah.
What it does, it goes on your phone and it caches 50 miles of maps around you. So like when you guys go to Moab, it would be perfect for you guys.
Yeah, which is something we will be trying when we do it. One of the things that TFL Off-Road and TFL Truck does, we go to Moab, Utah, which for us is about 5 hours and change. And we get out there, and having the ability to use a really good navigation system is key. It's really important in certain days. But going back to the luxury thing, and my point about this system is that it still was just a hair laggy compared to my phone.
I would agree.
Okay. So, with that being said, in the future, voice recognition will get better.
It will.
But it's not going to be something that a lot of retirees who won't buy these cars are going to be used to. They want to push a button and flip a switch to make things happen.
I did my own somewhat unscientific test. You have been to the hangar, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just virtually.
Okay, so in the hangar you see all the planes.
Yeah.
So all those planes, they're not all mine. Some of them are, one of them is mine, but
I
not
lie
all
to the
of them.
guys and I tell them that it's his.
But all the guys there are old.
Yeah.
They're much older than me.
Oh yeah.
But they all have classic car collections. Actually, it's funny, none of them drive luxury cars. Like, most of them drive like Toyota Tundra pickup trucks. Yet they have a Ford GT, a 300 SL Gullwing, a Stutz Bearcat. So the dailies are crappy cars. But they know luxury. Well, I think the guy with the fanciest daily is an M5. I let them drive my S-Class when I got it.
Right.
The 21.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't tell them. I deliberately told them nothing on how to run it. They came back like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And they were frustrated. But here's the thing. Everything in that car, kind of like this, it's a contextual menu. There's no main home screen, even down to something as simple as adjusting the mirrors. You know how you and I get into a car, like today, we adjust the mirrors and there's a left and right toggle switch? In the EQS and the S-Class, there is no toggle switch. And you're like, well, how do you get the thing to work? Even I did that. You know what it does?
Huh.
The screen in front of you has a sensor. It looks where your head is pointed. And if you look this way, it adjusts this mirror. If you look this way, it adjusts that mirror. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool. It's a little unnerving, too. What if the car has a glitch?
Well, you know what? Tell them about the doors today.
I can tell you about that. But I can't go into detail on how I feel about them. But I will tell you this.
Well, you can talk about the doors. You can't talk about the
actual
fuel
driving.
economy, the pricing, or the way it drives.
So, the doors are digital. I kid you not. When you reach the door handle, it doesn't pop or move at all. There is a pad inside that reads that you're there, and it'll unlatch the door. It's way too complicated. My point was, and I did this in my video,
And mine.
that German cars tried to reinvent the turn signal stock. And I thought that they failed miserably. This is BMW and Mini. And I know for a fact because my wife has a Mini. And I can't stand the thing. It doesn't make any sense. Just, why would you do that? And they've done the same thing with, the shifter and everything else. So this is another one of those things where it's kind of a gimmick. It doesn't need to exist.
Yeah.
And once you get into the car, then in order to get out, you just push the little pad and it'll open the door. What we noticed today, though, was that when we did it, there were times to where we would click it and it didn't pop open all the way. Well, you'd think, okay, well, I'll click it again and it'll open up, I guess. Nope. Got to shut the door, click it again to open it. It's the only way that works. And it's not, I don't see how that helps the car.
It's adding a step that I didn't like. And going back to the UX, more complication. I don't know if you saw with the steering wheel.
Yeah.
It's got hard 5-way controllers on the buttons.
Yes.
But it's contextual as well, and when you put your thumb on the controller, it pulls up a graphic in the head-up display that tells you what the function that you're using. So you think of it as smart buttons.
Right.
But again, you're adding another layer, and you're taking your eye technically off the road from here to here to see what you're adjusting, and it takes your attention away from driving.
Now, to be fair, a lot of these components that we're talking about, once you get used to the car, you won't have to take your eyes off the road as often or anything else like that because you'll be used to what the buttons are going to be doing.
I get it.
Yeah, but I agree with you. It's something that is unnecessary. It's an unnecessary addition to a vehicle that really doesn't help the vehicle become a better vehicle in my mind.
Especially when it, okay, I'm going to prove this point. We didn't script this. If someone comes to you, and you get it a lot when you go to cocktail parties, you probably don't in the past year and a half, but soon as someone knows you're a car guy, what's the first thing they ask? Mm-hmm. Should I buy this or this?
Yep,
all the time. When they say they want to own the car past 5 years, how many luxury cars do you suggest to them?
2, 3 maybe.
And what are they?
Lexus, the first one. Usually I go from Lexus to, it depends on the car though. So sometimes Infiniti, sometimes, and sometimes Acura.
Okay, so you just proved my point. There's no Mercedes in that list.
Nope.
There's no BMW in that list.
Nope.
Why? Because they're complicated
exactly.
and they break.
That's exactly
Lexus does not break. They are bulletproof reliable, and I think they're adding complexity.
And that's one of the main things about German vehicles in the United States. That point in time, with me, becoming, say I've been in the trade over 20 years, realistically, and ever since then, I've looked at Mercedes and BMW with awe for certain things.
Awe with what?
Driving an M, almost any type of M, is bliss.
Especially an M2CS.
Driving most AMGs is remarkable. However, if I'm at a party where I know that some of the people know my wife, know my sister, or whoever in my small community, and they're going to be living with a car for 10 years, I'm not going to recommend a German vehicle. I'm going to recommend most likely a Lexus. And that's what I've done, and Lexus actually owes me a ton of dough.
You're speaking out of school a little bit. Would you like to tell the audience what your sister drives a luxury car technically? What luxury car does she drive?
She drives a Buick Encore.
Buick.
Yes.
Now, back in the day, that was a proper luxury car. I still can see it as a competitor to what we drove today. But there are things about it. This is not a nice thing to say, but I'm going to say it.
Please.
I have tried to twist many people's arms to buy a Buick because I grew up on Buicks. I grew up on Buicks, Chevys, and Volvos. I have a soft spot in my heart for Buicks.
Right.
And with the exception of my attorney, who I was able to talk him into buying a Buick, and it turned out it was the one that was unreliable, the only one.
Perfect, yeah.
Every one of them says a variation of, a Buick? Really? And that's literally what they're fighting against. Where people now are lining up. I don't think it's a badge snob thing anymore, because people are lining up to pay $12,000 over sticker for a Kia Telluride.
Yes.
Good vehicle.
Great vehicle, but not worth that much over sticker. Not even close.
$60,000 when you're talking the top, whatever they call it, the SXR.
You and I talked about this actually one time when we were having sticks and during COVID.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable with some of the prices they're throwing out there. Now, by the way, the Koreans are coming on strong. Genesis.
Coming on. They have come on strong already. Now they're eating everybody's lunch.
Genesis is phenomenal.
They're
Genesis
killing it.
is right there.
Killing it.
And they are so close to being supreme.
But they too are going all electric.
They are indeed.
Do you think it's too premature for them?
Well, I think if they can go electric, and this is where the conversation is really going, if they can go electric and still keep their internal combustion cars for a little longer, not completely like Audi.
But they're talking like 2025 or something.
Yeah, or 2030 in some cases in some of these companies.
No, Genesis is like 2020. I mean, it's around the corner. We're already 2022.
Yeah, we're nearly there, and that's incredible. And it's sad because they build really good internal combustion
G70
cars.
I had that on thermal, and I drifted the crap out of that car.
I saw the video where you were on the track, and you were absolutely having a blast. I drove that vehicle. I drove every type of G70 built, going back to when they first came out, and I absolutely wanted the 4-cylinder with the manual transmission.
Great car.
I think that would have been such a great car to own. I thought about owning that car because I'm getting old, and it would have been
you are old.
Hey, we're the same age. The point is that vehicle.
But look at the way he parts his hair.
My hair is perfect. By the way, I think you like the way that it's no split ends. That car was phenomenal. And then its bigger brother, the twin turbocharged V6 and all-wheel drive. Are you kidding me? Wonderful.
No more manual.
No more manual now.
Yeah.
But I actually kind of like their new styling.
You like the lights? Wait till you see. Okay, so GV70, the crossover, the middle crossover. Like, not the depths of the virus, but kind of right after the depths of the virus. In LA, we're still locked down, like, beyond. They brought one over. No driving. It was just, you could just do a stand-up.
We did it too.
Yeah, I think Roman came down.
Yep.
For that. And they brought as a surprise. Now it's been shown. The concept car, it's a 2-door. It's this stunning coupe that has all this presence in it.
Yeah.
And I spoke with Sang Yep, great guy, by the way. I've known him since his GM days. That's going to be the new G90. So that design language is going to be the big sedan.
When I see concept vehicles, by the way, quite often it gets watered down by the time it gets into production.
Yeah.
But I've been very impressed with where Genesis is going in terms of their growth and their styling. Their styling is mature and fun at the same time.
He's killing it, man. He's
Absolutely.
killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at talk about a shooting star. That guy Camaro.
Yeah.
He was one of the early guys that Bob Lutz personally tapped him to work with Tom Peterson.
Tom Peters. That was when they brought it back.
That guy has got a car collection, but all stuff he built with his own 2 hands. So he worked with Tom Peters. And believe it or not, most people don't know this, Bob Boniface, who was the global design director for Buick, he was early on. He did a sketch early for the Camaro. So all of them worked together. Then Sang Yip jump ship, goes to Bentley. Jump ship again. Now he's running all of Hyundai Kia design.
If you sit in a modern Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis, you will be in an interior that is comparable, if not better, than the competition. And
I'd say better.
In many cases, not always.
Have you seen the GV70 interior?
Yeah, I was in it.
It's better than I thought. The G80 and the GV80 was good. GV70 puts those in the toilet.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. The only thing I don't like about the G80 was the steering wheel.
Hate the steering. It's like an old LTD.
It's a really
Ground Vic.
Yeah.
Yep.
But forget that. Everything else is pointing, in my mind, the direction of a car company for the future. I think that at some point in time, if not already, Lexus is looking at Genesis and going, okay, these guys are coming on strong. What are we going to do about it?
Okay, so 2 things. Do you think it's premature that Kia pulls the plug on the Stinger?
Yeah.
Why? Give me 3 reasons why. And one of them can't be sales.
I think that vehicle still has a lot of potential, a lot of places it could go. If they could make a bargain basement version of that car,
yeah,
I think
they did. No one bought it.
Yeah, that was the problem. They didn't market it right.
It was $32,000 at 250 horsepower.
Yeah,
no one bought it.
Nobody bought it.
When that car first came out, I said no one's going to buy the V6. Everyone's going to buy the 4-cylinder. These things are going to sit on dealer lots. I was 100% wrong.
V6 is extremely popular, all-wheel drive in my region, Denver. Very popular for that vehicle. Kids are buying them. Kids love getting them secondhand.
Well, when you say kids, like how old's a kid that's going to buy a $30,000 used car?
35-year-old kid, 30-year-old kid, even a 25-year-old kid who's got a little bit of cash.
Yeah.
You know, if they're smart, because those cars are so much fun when they get their paws on them and actually modify them and do some fun stuff. Yeah.
So let's come closer to home. Well, how do you think Lincoln and Cadillac are doing right now?
Lincoln is so lost in the woods.
Still.
I think so. That they get close and then they get far. They with their cars, which are pretty much done.
There is no such thing as a Lincoln car anymore, is there?
I think as of this year they're done.
Yep.
No, there's no more Lincoln cars, and same direction Ford went. So everything they're building is a crossover and SUV.
Yeah.
Not thrilled about that personally, but the other side of that is that I still feel like when I'm in a Lincoln that I'm in an expensive Ford.
I get that. That's what I feel, but then again, I am not a Ford guy.
I understand that. I'm not a Ford guy, but I deal with a lot of Fords. So moving to Cadillac has done a lot of things that are bespoke. It's Cadillac. You're not in any other vehicle. You don't feel like you're sharing any of the components or anything else. It's inside the car.
Especially the new Escalade.
Especially the new Escalade. That thing is completely different than its brethren. Even though you know the platform's the same, right? And there's soon going to be a super hot version of that one that we actually caught on spy photographs testing in my neighborhood. So they're going to have a hot one. And then their cars are still building cars, thank God, and still building manual transmissions.
Oh, that CT5V.
I haven't had a chance yet.
Madre de Dios, that thing is. I'm driving it on Willow Springs.
Willow Springs. That's so our driver. You know Paul, right?
Of course, I know Paul. Yeah.
Paul Gerard is one of the former Stigs for Top Gear USA, first generation Top Gear USA, and he really does know cars in terms of driving dynamics. But a big fat guy like me in a car, I'm just thrilled if I can get it around a track without crashing it. In his case, he pushes it, and he knew that there was something special going on. But what drives me crazy about Cadillac is they put all this money into Blackwing, this phenomenal engine, just to get rid of it. Just to get rid of it. They're going all electric, and they're doing it soon.
Did you get the chance to drive the CT6 Blackwing?
Not the Blackwing.
Unusually good car. Because there was no expense spared on the platform and the suspension of the CT6. They Swiss cheesed it. The componentry is exotic in that car. You wouldn't think it is, but that's another Bob Boniface car. He ran the exterior design of Cadillac when that car was penned. Underneath, it's prettier than it is outside. It's screwed together well in the interior. Then they finally added that good engine, and then boom, they made 400 of them, pulled the plug.
I mean, that's, I think, encapsulates actually what we've been talking about, the future of luxury, because these amazing internal combustion engines are being made. They're really figuring out how to make a good supercharged engine or a good turbocharged engine. They're really coming down with figuring this out and building a beautifully balanced car, only to stop and start with electrification. Now, for the record, I don't hate electric vehicles. I own one.
You own one, yeah.
My daughter has a Nissan Leaf. But I will say that I have yet to drive one that really has a soul.
That's a good question. Have I driven an electric? Taycan has a soul.
I love the Taycan, but I didn't have much time in it. Roman only gave me a few minutes
That's
before.
the kind of car he would take and would let you drive. I get that.
Yeah.
The one you got to drive, Cross Turismo. Oh, I have intel I'm going to share with you. It's the first time ever I'm talking about this on camera.
Please.
I'm not telling you how I got this intel. So, Cross Turismo, I got an early drive, pre-embargo drive. They brought him over from Germany, a German market car. And I got the Taycan for Cross Turismo. first Taycan I've ever gotten in a good color. All of them prior to that were silvers and grays and blacks, and you don't see the design, because it's a beautiful design, but you need a color that pops to really get the design, and you need a contrast interior. Finally got it in that Cross Turismo, which is already a much more exquisite design. The Taycan 4 is plenty of power. You don't need the turbo, don't need the Turbo S. So I'm digging around, and they say, we think the Cross Turismo is going to be 10% of the product mix. 10% of them are going to be sold as Cross Turismos. What do you think is the real numbers of orders? And I'm taking this directly from real orders. What do you think? They said 10%. Of the 100% Taycan sold, how many have been ordered as Cross Turismos?
30%.
40%.
Jeez, I thought I was reaching.
I thought it would be 25. It's 40.
40%.
And they're all sold either sticker or above. And these cars are $100 grand. So that kind of goes back to the future of electric. And actually, kind of folding that in to our discussion, BMW, they just had the drives on the electric, the crossover.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
I don't know exactly what to make of it because A, I haven't driven it. B, I don't really see where it fits in with the other vehicles that are out there. I think that BMW, once again, they're targeting Tesla. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But BMW has been in the game and done some different things that I really liked. That i3 that they produced,
Great to drive.
really unusual, unique, and bizarre car. All the things I like, but it never quite caught on.
It was too expensive.
It is pricey. Used ones are, by the way, a big bargain.
$7,500 in LA.
Well, I don't know about right now with today's economy, but
People are still afraid of used electric cars.
which, in some cases makes sense. But there are ways, where you can actually figure out if you have good, or bad degradation, and that's really the big deal. And that, I think, might actually play into what's going to happen with Lexus. They have to come up with more lithium-ion batteries, and then in the future, other batteries, replacements that can last longer, hold a charge longer, stay cooler.
That's really where GM is, I think, going to eat everybody's lunch.
With the Ultim.
That is a real game changer. They're kind of like making it as simple as possible. They're repackaging the batteries. They're getting more dense batteries that have more energy in a smaller footprint to make them, I guess, the hope is to have some soul in their cars. That's the hope.
That's the hope. Probably the first vehicle I'll drive that has that battery and that powertrain will be the Hummer. Andre's going to probably get one first. He'll go to the
Not
event.
Andre, what's his name?
Sorry, the deposed leader of the Blanca
Freedom Party.
Yeah. That's a lot to remember.
Yes.
I'll have to come up with some stickers.
And for the avoidance of doubt, the Blanca means loaf of bread in Russian, and he bought this old Russian van, is what it is. It's
4x4
basically
van.
like a three-quarter scale of a Volkswagen bus, but it's four-wheel drive and has high ground clearance.
Yeah.
And like a VW, you sit on the engine. The battery is under the driver's seat. He paid more to ship it than the vehicle cost.
Yeah, and it does run. I think it has a 4-speed manual transmission. Not a lot of power, and we live in Colorado. High elevation, which means that little engine is struggling with anything, no matter where you want to go.
You guys you gotta look at the two videos they put out on that for two reasons. Number one, I think it's a cool little vehicle.
It's a trip.
And he's like a kid in a candy store with that thing.
Yeah.
And number two, the guy who shot our videos today, he was the cinematographer on that. Matt, great guy, did a great job putting those videos together. So big shout out to Matt on that one.
Hell yeah. So I think to put a pin in this conversation, let you guys get onto your cigars, I think that electrification obviously is the future, but I think what you're saying is that people might have to follow Porsche and General Motors' lead.
In terms of what? In terms of
technology and capability.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit more than that. And
Okay.
this is where we come back to Lexus.
All right.
I think the product portfolio is going to have to include electric. I get it. That's Brussels and Washington, D.C. playing in car development. I get it. That's just, you can't fight City Hall.
No.
However, I think there is a blue sky for the BMW M5 CSs of the world, the M2 CSs of the world, the Lexus IS 500 Performance. I think there's a blue sky. I would strongly caution Lexus against putting a bullet in the back of the head of the 8-cylinder NAV8, because that's now a selling point. Do you think they did the wrong thing by not going full F in the IS 500?
Yes.
Why?
I think, well, first of all, the regular IS 500 is a bargain for what you get.
56. I called that thing for 65 all day long base price.
Yeah.
It's 10 grand cheaper than I said, and I never get that wrong because you know I'm a cheapskate.
I know you're a cheapskate. I think that if this is the last hurrah, which it could be, why not go bananas?
I agree. And the reality of the situation is, virus or not, at 56.5, there's going to be a handful of people that put it in order a year ago that'll get them at sticker. But the ones that are going to sit on the lot, the dealer's going to say, you want it today? 70 grand.
Yep.
Because what are you going to do? Your next stop is 73 for an M3, and are you going to buy an M3 without any options? So the minimum M3 with the options you need to make it the right car is 85. The one everybody buys is 100. So if I'm a Lexus dealer, you're paying 70. If not, I'm going to put the 3 cars I have in stock. I'll wait until some idiot's going to pay me 70 grand, and someone will.
Yep.
Because where else are you going to go?
Yeah. That's the reality of today. Hopefully that doesn't stay, and hopefully this is something that's temporary. But Lexus still has the market for reliability, and I'm hoping they're going to be able to keep that
Really
when
hope they keep that.
they need to. Well, with the electricity, one would think that in some ways, electrification actually has a lot of good points. One thing, servicing your vehicle is going to be way cheaper. Less moving parts, less things to go wrong once they start getting everything right. Instant power, great power with a lot of electric cars. Being able to charge up from your home can be, a real plus. These are all great things. But having that luxury feel.
But what is luxury today? Because you buy a Hyundai, a Sonata that's 30 grand, it has everything an E-Class has. So what is luxury today?
Luxury today is still presence.
Design.
So
we're saying design sells cars.
Oh, you're part of it, yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and Lexus is getting design. I'm still not a huge fan of the spindle grille, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I'm one of the few people that likes it.
I like it. The NX did it right, I thought. But I've seen other vehicles, especially their SUVs, where it's just oversized. It's like a brine whale. So it depends on the car, I think.
I'm going to drop a bombshell on you.
Hit it.
You know I'm a cheapskate. I've said this many times. I should stop saying that. Before the virus, I was online too many times at night. 65 for a used LC 500? I would do that. I would totally. It's not a 911.
Yeah.
But the presence of that car, that's a show car.
That LC is one of the most beautiful designs, and there's so much. It's a car you can spend all day staring at, which you can't say about very many cars nowadays.
No, you can't.
The intricate
GT3
details. But the intricate details, the little things with that car, the little design things they did here and there, the comfort of the interior, the design of the interior.
The execution of the interior.
Fantastic. Yes, it's not a track car. I would never put it on the track. It is a car that if I lived...
It's not trying to be.
Well, no, but that some people look at it and go, because it looks really fast, and it's not quite as fast as it looks, I would say, but it doesn't matter. It's still quick enough. It
The
gets
way
out
it
of it.
delivers power out of that engine.
And it
The
sounds
hybrid,
good.
forget the hybrid.
No. I'm talking about the V8. It sounds good, really good.
So one thing we got to discuss before we round out this conversation. Do you think Mercedes-Benz is going in the right direction with all that mild hybrid 48-volt systems?
Well, the 48-volt system makes a lot more sense in terms of power delivery, in terms of charging, and there's a lot of reasons why 48 volts works. People in the United States are not quite used to it.
I don't think they understand it.
So are they going in the right direction? I think that they need to take their marketing team and say, listen guys, we need to make this something important, as opposed to anything else. You're driving a Mercedes. No, you're driving a vehicle that has the system that is very unique and capable. And this is why. Spell it out, put it out there for the regular consumer to see, because they're not doing that at all. As a matter of fact, Mercedes is really bad at PR when it comes to their tech, and they usually lead the way.
Well, they've led the way with the S-Class for 50 years.
They led the way with modern development for safety systems, traction control systems.
That was all first on S-Class.
Yeah, all of that. But the point being is that is stuff that is not in the consciousness of a lot of regular consumers. They look at a Mercedes simply as it's a luxury name. You're getting a badge. Doesn't really matter what Mercedes you buy at some point in time.
I have gone down on record as saying the new S-Class is the reinterpretation of elegance today, which it is.
I haven't driven it yet.
You got to, and I'll stand by it. But the differentiation, like back in 1979 when they started putting ABS as an option in their cars, very few, mainly Europe, that's a huge delta from everything else.
Yeah.
Today, it's a smaller gap. Like the things that set them apart are stuff like a head-up display that instead of 10 inches like we saw today,
yeah,
it's literally a 46-inch screen like you get from Costco. I don't think that's enough to say we are the technological leader.
I agree with you.
And I would caution Mercedes and anybody else adopting 48 volt because it's Land Rover and it's BMW. But they do it a different way and they have different reasoning. Like they're for Audi, they do a 48 volt, but it's mainly for stop-start.
Yeah.
Jaguar, Land Rover, and BMW, it has the accessory drive. It's mainly for fuel efficiency. Mercedes, it's for performance, and you're going to start seeing it more on AMGs to get torque from like 0. But I don't think they should sell it on performance or electrification. I think they should sell it on, you mark our words, look back in 7 years, these cars will be more reliable because they have less moving parts. That's what they need to work on. They need, like Lexus is trying to become more complicated like Germans.
Yeah.
The Germans should be more like Lexus.
I agree, and I agree.
48 volt is the way to get there. I don't know if it still has yet to prove itself, but that I think could be luxury in 2025. And on that note, this is the point of the episode where we should turn around to these guys, right?
Yep.
So you guys weigh in the comments below some of the stuff we discussed. Are we in the right direction, or are we just old idiots just smoking cigars, literally blowing smoke? And then you know what another thing we should ask? Do you guys like this format? Because we're calling it members only. Is that what it is?
Members only. Yeah.
Members only. You want to see more of this stuff? Because we've had a really good time doing this.
I love it.
I can't guarantee this is going to be in a cigar lounge every time. We can do it in the hangar smoking cigars.
Hell yeah.
Or outside, but this is what we do off camera. So what you have seen is just our normal conversations without cursing.
I was about to, yeah.
Or talking about women.
Yeah, we edited both of those things out.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about women in future episodes. Unless you pay us, then we will talk about women.
I think the pay would have to be fairly substantial because if my wife caught wind,
it would be a very expensive episode for you.
It would be a remarkably expensive
So let us
episode.
know in the comments below, and goes without saying, would greatly appreciate your help with the algorithm. Now, what does that mean? Hit subscribe, notifications, but more importantly, hit like and absolutely share these episodes with all your friends on all your socials, especially on Reddit. And where can they find you?
On TFL Car, TFL Bike, TFL Off-Road, TFL Truck, TFL Now, TFL Talk, TFL Boat, TFL Airplane.
Boat channel now?
No, I'm kidding. No, but we have
wait a minute, there's a TFL Buhanka channel now.
There's the Buhanka channel. Go to TFL Truck and you'll see more on that. But the Fastlane Car, we went around for a while, and George?
A pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Smoke more cigars.